Hello and welcome. This is Carolyn with Inspired Life Shifts. I wanted to walk through an example detailing easy and empowering steps to start living in congruence or in alignment with your worldview. So this video builds upon some concepts I covered in the last video. So if you haven't checked that out, please do. Not a prerequisite. If you envision a single-celled organism, an amoeba, for example, it moves through its world trying to avoid dangerous, harmful, uncomfortable stimuli. In the same way, people also tend to avoid uncomfortable stimuli. In the world, you either act or you're acted upon. You're either proactive or reactive. So if I jump into an example, here's a snapshot of a single week. This is an exercise to understand if I'm in alignment with my life priorities. So I have the week laid out. I have energy drains and energy sources at the bottom. So jumping into Monday goes to plan. I got some exercise. I accomplished some great things at work. I was able to spend time with the family, and I got to sleep at a reasonable hour. By Tuesday, I'm getting loaded with work. My boss adds to my plate, but no problem, just put in some extra time. I'm exhausted. I had this obligation to go to trivia night, which I do, but I really could have used the sleep. By Wednesday, my colleague calls in sick, and now I need to pick up the slack to meet a deadline. I skip yoga to put extra time into work. Thursday happens to me. I'm redlined with work. I need to cancel date night. By Friday, I'm wrapping up a very stressful week, and I watch TV to unstress. By the time the weekend comes, I'm recovering, returning to balance, spending more time with my family, partner, investing in my health, and still relieving stress. If we return to the amoeba example, this past week I was fully acted upon at a personal cost. So my question is, how could I live in balance? The first item, take inventory. Where are you currently? And secondarily, get a strategy to improve based on your inventory. So a couple of themes jump out from how I spent my week. I'm spending my time, energy, resources with family, health, my relationship, career, friends, personal development, and diversion, stress relief. If I categorize them in terms of most to least prioritized, this is where we end up. Career is number one, family, relationship, friends, health, diversion, personal development. Now that I have a list of how I'm currently spending energy, time, and resources, I can stress test this list. Does this reflect my life priorities? Is career my top priority? For some people, the answer is yes. For me, the answer is no. Is my health really my fifth priority? For me, the answer is no. So I'm going to get honest and generate my list of life priorities. Now that I have my two lists, I can evaluate, do they align or do they misalign? In this example, it's clear that I need some strategies to live in alignment with my worldview. Borrowing from Franklin Covey in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about a 2x2 matrix: urgent, not urgent, important, not important. The urgent, important category includes life and limb emergencies, important work obligations. Urgent, not important includes anything that's vying for your immediate attention that isn't necessarily important. A telemarketer's calling you, someone's at the door. The not urgent, important category includes fitness, relationship, planning, strategizing, health. The not urgent, not important includes distractions from your world, TV, video games, etc. If we can down prioritize the urgent, not important category and spend more time in the not urgent, important category, one of the consequences is the items in the urgent, important category will be fewer and less urgent. For example, if we spend time building a business, taking care of our financial position, we'll have fewer financial emergencies. Likewise, if we eat the right foods and we exercise, we'll have fewer medical emergencies. So shifting our focus, time, and attention within these categories, understanding what life throws at us and which category it goes into most appropriately, gives us some power to take control of our lives and be more proactive and less reactive. So going back to our example, if we look at the Pareto principle, which I touched on in the last video, the 80-20 rule. 80% of our stress from this past week came from work, but more specifically, it came from 20% of my work team. So we can't necessarily control what the world throws at us, but we can control what we do with it. So fortunately, 20% of my work team is within my sphere of influence. In other words, it's within my ability to control or influence. To quote Viktor Frankl, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. In other words, we have a choice. We could move away from uncomfortable stimuli at our own personal cost, much like an amoeba would do, or we could exercise growth and freedom with uncomfortable conversations. So how could we have better handled this last week and lived in alignment with our life priorities? To quote Tim Ferriss, a person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. So initially, when our boss came and loaded our plate, and our coworker also loaded our plate, we put those items in the urgent, important category. If we were willing to have uncomfortable conversations, perhaps those items could have moved to the urgent, not important category. This isn't necessarily to say we're going to push back and say no because I want to go to yoga and go on date night. That would be a win-lose. I would win, my business would lose. The other option was to just do the work, which is what I did, which led to a lose-win. I personally lost while the business won. The problem with a lose-win or a win-lose is it has the potential down the road to turn into a lose-lose. What if there is a win-win available here? What if we talked to the parties involved, got buy-in, reprioritized work, perhaps pushed some things on my plate till next week so I could focus on the most important critical tasks at hand? That way, the needs of my business are being taken care of, and I'm also maintaining work-life balance. Had that happened, I wouldn't have had to skip yoga. I wouldn't have had to skip date night. My need to de-stress would have been lowered, which would enable potentially more time to look after my health. The great news here is next week is a brand new week. As life comes at us, we can categorize items in this 2x2 matrix. Is it important? Is it urgent? Things within our sphere of influence we can shift, especially when recognizing items that are urgent but not important. And of course, all of this work is in support of living according to your life priorities. A huge thank you for having the courage to show up and just know you are loved, you are worthy, and you are enough. Subscribe to the channel, comment below, reach out directly, or forward this to someone it could serve.